I am Dustin Baker. I'm here with our mainstays of Friday, Dakota Koep and Tyler Ireland. Dakota, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Not bad. We are 3 weeks into the offseason. We have conference championships afoot. Tyler, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
Not bad. Are you excited for these conference championships, or is it a big meh for you?
Anyone but Detroit?
Yeah, well, we got a big debate on that. We won't cover it today, but there's like this big divide. Like, should we cheer for the little engine that could, or should we consider them just like the Packers or Bears? This
I had
guy,
that one tweet where it was just like had like over 1 million views, and it was just egging on Lions fans about their loyalty.
yeah. Oh, I saw that. Yeah, that was epic. All right, we're continuing with different viewpoints on the free agent talk because we are going to be about 6 weeks away from free agency when we hit Monday. March 11th is legal tampering. And as I think viewers know, that's when business gets hot and heavy. Our players can commit to teams and they sign on the dotted line about 2 days later. I talked with Josh Fry earlier this week about free agency on his radar, and we're going to do the same. And I'll give two, Dakota will give two, and Tyler will offer two. Dakota, that is your prompt at the top of your list. And these are supposed to be realistic. These aren't like, hey, we're going to go sign T. Higgins for 20 million, that 25 million, whatever it'll be. That probably won't happen. So I've asked these two to come up with realistic free agents possibilities. Dakota, kick us off.
Okay, I don't know how realistic mine is, but I know everyone on Twitter is like foaming at the mouth over Christian Wilkins because of his connection with B-Flow and everything. But doing my own research, I genuinely think that we could semi-realistically obtain Chris Jones. Now the reason of the Chiefs. And now the reason I think that is because of just kind of how much of a lackluster his like 1 year signing was this offseason. He was quite literally willing to sit out of a game in protest. And it doesn't seem like he's got really any loyalty to the Chiefs at this point. In my own little research, I think that he fits better into the B-Flow system that we've got currently going on with the Vikings. I understand that Christian Wilkins does have a little bit better of a run defense grade, but with a career total of 75.5 sacks, can you imagine Chris Jones like lining up with Danielle Hunter? That would be nuts. And clearly defense from everybody on Twitter standpoint, other than quarterback, is kind of going to be our focus going in on this offseason. And I think personally, with him being the highest ranked free agent by PFF, and that's of all free agents going into the 2024 offseason, I think it would overall just genuinely cover the blemish that was the Davenport signing. And I think it would add some beef to our defensive line, where this last season we definitely had some bigger players, Ivan Pace Jr., Danielle Hunter, DJ Wanham, but I think having somebody else to kind of just be there and be that like nitty gritty would really, really help out that defensive line.
And I believe this one is realistic if Kirk Cousins, we won't talk about that with Dakota today, if he does not return, because you'll have, a free 35 million to spend on extra free agents. And this would take the onus off of signing an extra big name edge rusher, because in theory, you'd have Daniil and you'd have Chris Jones in the middle of the line. And then you could roll with, a second round edge rusher, or if you want to bring Wanham back and start him again, or promote Patrick Jones if he has a great offseason. It wouldn't make it so that, what we're used to is Shamar Stephen from the Zimmer era and calling it good. So I agree that this one would be real. About the only thing that's not realistic is the Vikings going to spend mucho dinero on like Michael Pittman or a wide receiver, because they just won't be able to afford that at that position. All right, Tyler, we got Chris Jones starting off with a bang here. He'll be, let's see, he is 29. He'll be 30 this summer, so it'd probably be a 2 or 3 year deal in theory if he signs with the Vikings. What do you got, Tyler?
This free agent signing would actually pair really well with Chris Jones or even a Wilkins, because if you're going to spend that much money on an interior defensive lineman, then you just kind of have less to allocate for an edge rusher. So one under the radar name the Vikings could sign would be Patriots outside linebacker Josh Uche, 25 years old, one of the more underrated pure pass rushers, really athletic. He's going to struggle against the run. It's probably going to be like kind of like a Yannick Ngakoue situation where I don't really want him, having to set the edge on early downs often. And that's why you bring back Wanham, because that's like one thing he's really good at, is just setting the edge and stopping the run. But if you're able to rotate in Wanham with Uche, that could be, a serviceable, I guess, edge rusher duo if you bring back Daniil, and then you'll have Chris Jones in the middle there and wreaking havoc alongside Harrison Phillips. So that's my first potential target. Also, just the whole Patriots defensive player thing could, fit with what Brian Flores is trying to build here as well.
I am sticking with a similar theme. I have Bryce Huff from the New York Jets. This gentleman did not start for the Jets in 2023. He played in all 17 games. He played 42% of the time. And anytime you pull up any pass rusher list, whether it's PFF or pressures, he's always near the top, or at least pressures per snap. And so he's just like Harrison Phillips, in my opinion, 2 years ago. He's waiting for his opportunity to start. And because he doesn't have a starter's resume, he should be able to get got for about, 18, 19, 20 million per season at the ceiling. Therefore, to me, it makes sense that this would be a Kwesi signing. He's right in that age range. I think he's 26 or so. And I think you can do this in tandem with bringing back Daniil Hunter, and bada bing, you'd have two starting edge rushers if they don't pursue the Chris Jones plan or the Josh Uche plan. Basically, Huff and Uche would be 1A and 1B, depending on how much you like those dudes. So we've all said defensive line. That's pretty telling in itself. I believe Harrison Phillips will be back. He has one more year on his deal. I personally believe it's a no-brainer that Daniil Hunter will be back. I know there's some debate on that. And then after that, you have the depth guys, whether it's Kairos Tonga coming back, and you probably need a little bit more juice so the pressure is taken off the cornerbacks in Brian Flores' system, because that was pretty much the obituary for the 2023 Vikings, was completion percentage allowed, especially in the final, 4 games, all losses. All right, Dakota, who is your second free agent that is realistic that could sign with this purple team?
I actually kind of had some issues with this one just because I think for me, the other kind of like bigger hole in our offense really is the running back position. Not that that's any surprise to anybody. Again, maybe a little bit out of left field, but I think Tony Pollard might be an option. It's rumored that the Cowboys might actually be making a move towards Derrick Henry and getting rid of Pollard, which I think is insane. I mean, he's a younger guy. I believe he's actually about to be the same age as me, as I turned 26 in March. In this draft year, it isn't really necessarily running back heavy. I think it makes the most amount of sense. He had 252 carries for a little over 1,000 yards worth of, and honestly, he's a playmaker based on what I see. He has been a focal point on that Cowboys offense, but I mean, like I said, from what I've been reading, the little research I did, it doesn't sound like they are going to be insanely loyal to him. So I think it would be a massive improvement. Plus, it would kind of light a fire under, say, like Alexander Mattison, Cam Akers, and Ty Chandler to sort of up their game to essentially compete for that running back 2 position.
Yep, and Tony Pollard is in that advantageous category for free agents, general manager's sake, that he's not going to be one of those ones that nibbles at Christian McCaffrey money. He's just flat out not that good. And we already know the dialogue about running back contracts. You can usually get them for cheap. It's a miscarriage of justice, but that's the way that it is. So I agree. I haven't decided my prediction on what they're going to do, because there is a chance that they enjoy Ty Chandler. It doesn't make sense to offload Madison. Like, there's no cap savings whatsoever. So they have a crowded running back room right now with Kane Nwangu and Dwayne McBride. It's just that it didn't work this season. So I'm confused right now if I believe that they're going to make a splash like Pollard or use their, second round draft pick on Jonathan Brooks from Texas. But running back certainly, I think, is a need, because the rushing attack has now sucked for 2 straight years. And when you have a former quarterback who likes to pass, eventually he's going to get the memo that you can't get away with that, especially when you watch these playoff games. Tyler, your next free agent.
Yeah, real quick on Dakota's point too. I think there's this notion that, hey, we shouldn't pay for a veteran running back just because of the price. And it's like buying a new car. It's just gonna depreciate the moment that you buy it, sort of thing. But there's not a lot of teams out there are gonna wanna spend big on big name running backs. So it might actually be more of a value add to sign one of those guys, because you might, who knows, you could maybe get Eckler for like $5 million a year at this stage. I mean, you never know. Like, look how easy it was for the Browns to sign Kareem Hunt, when he was the whole scandal and everything played a part in it, but Kareem Hunt was like a quality running back for the Chiefs, and the Browns got him for dirt cheap. And, I look at this free agent class for running backs, and I sort of think the same thing, that like one or two of these guys you can have at a really good value. But my next free agent target would be Chiefs punter Tommy Townsend. Ryan Wright was absolutely atrocious this year, which it breaks my heart because before the start of the season, I went on Score North and basically said, I think Ryan Wright's going to make first team All Pro. And I couldn't have been any more wrong about that prediction. Like his fall off needs to be studied. It is just so disappointing, and I'm not sure if the Vikings can really run it back at punter without bringing competition. And the Vikings have done this thing for the past couple of years where they'll sign some sort of like undrafted free agent at kicker, and then he gets cut in May. They'll do the same thing with punter and just like sign a dude off the street. And, it's quote unquote competition, but not really. I say get one of the best punters in the league. Townsend is 27 years old. So it wouldn't hurt me if Kwesi overpaid a little bit for a punter if it means we can get some good punts, set us up with an advantage on defense there. Just like get them right inside the 20, right inside the 10. Like we need more of that. Too many touchbacks this year, too many bad punts. And I think that's probably the most underrated aspect of football is just like how well you're able to flip field position. And it helps the defense so much. So definitely bring in a guy like Townsend.
Yeah, it was very under the radar how drastically Wright's performance changed. I mean, he's still big and lovable, but the touchbacks were just like, we didn't have those in 2022, and coincidentally, they were also 13-4 that year. So I agree fundamentally that field position, it's like casual fans don't even really know what it is or don't care. It's the same thing with time of possession. You can usually tell if the Vikings are going to win a football game based on how if they're up right side up with a time of position battle. All right, my final one. I mentioned this on Wednesday's show with Josh Fry, but I'm going to reiterate it. I think Rashid Shaheed for the New Orleans Saints would be a marvelous WR3 in this offense, or at least compete with Brandon Powell for the gig. I don't think that the Vikings will have room to make a splash decision at WR3 because they have to pay Hunter, possibly play Cousins, extend Jefferson, and then, by the way, get impactful defensive free agents. So I think they're going to have to do the bargain bin thing for a WR3. And for me, that would be like Rashid Shaheed, who should be about, gettable for 2 years and 6 million or 7 million, something really affordable. And he does a lot of stuff. And I think you can be very creative with his skill set. And I think that would be something that the Vikings should target because they had, this was the year for Jalen Naylor to bust out and prove he was WR3. He didn't. He had like a catch. And then he was hurt all the time with, I don't know if it was multiple concussions or the same one that lingered. So WR3 will be a point of emphasis, in my opinion, but I just don't know that they could spend much on it. All right, let's get off air with conference championships predictions. Dakota, we have the first game. I wish this game was right in the prime time window, but they couldn't do that for us. Is the Chiefs on the road, which is weird, an NFC championship against the Ravens, and then the Lions at the 49ers. So tell us who wins both of those and why.
Okay, if you are a Swiftie and you're watching this, cover your ears. I'm not a bandwagon Swiftie. As much as I love her, I'm gonna go Ravens. Football. I've known football longer than I've known Taylor Swift. I've never really liked the Chiefs anyway, so I'm gonna go with the Ravens.
That's a
feel
prediction,
very
right?
Yeah, my prediction is the Ravens that game. I'm very torn as to who I'm cheering for in the NFC Championship. But ultimately, I do think that the Lions will end up taking it just because I feel like Brock Purdy is slowly losing that magic. So I think the Lions and their defense and that explosive offensive line will be able to, unfortunately, make a run for the Super Bowl if you're a Vikings fan and that is your view of it, at least.
So you have a Ravens-Lions Super Bowl, huh?
I do.
Man,
I do.
that will be such a 2 weeks worth of media firestorm if the Lions break through. And it'll be indictment on Kyle Shanahan because this trek through the NFC playoffs will never be any easier than it was this year with the death of the Cowboys and the Eagles. Those are supposed to be the titans of industry, and nope. So this year, Shanahan's got to get there and then let the chips fall. But according to Dakota, it will be the Kitties. Tyler, what are your conference championships predictions?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the San Francisco 49ers coming out of the NFC and then the Baltimore Ravens coming out of the AFC. Let's start with San Fran. I think people are a bit too down on them after last week. You know, Brock Purdy was having to kind of deal with throwing the football in crappy weather, and I think people have soured on him a little too much. And moreover, people are way too high on the Lions right now. I still think that'll be a close game, given the Lions' defense and run game, but I just feel like San Fran has been here before, and that experience will help them reach the Super Bowl this year. And as for Chiefs Ravens, you can never really count out Mahomes. I was tempted to go Chiefs here, but just the Ravens defense and Lamar Jackson on a mission this year, I can't possibly pick against the Ravens. So I got to go with them in a Ravens versus Niners Super Bowl.
I have the same thing, and I'm on the same lines of it's really silly to pick or bet against Patrick Mahomes, but I have memories of the Super Bowl against Brady when that defense got to him profusely, and this Ravens defense is structured similar, and they have all the playmakers to do the trick. And so if this was in Kansas City, I would take the Chiefs, but I'm going to rest on home field advantage and think this is Lamar's year. And then for San Francisco, that's a good point. I've been thinking rotten things about Brock Purdy all week because of how lousy that third quarter was, and just looked like a Vikings QB3. But then you just brought me back to earth with the with the wet balls thing, for lack of a better term. I was thinking, maybe there is maybe that's his kryptonite, or wet balls. So yeah, I will take the 49ers as well. And then I think any matchup will be a real cool storyline for the Super Bowl. All right, guys, you have homework. It's up to you guys to decide next week what the topic will be. We have free agency is 6 weeks away. NFL draft is 3 months away. I don't know if we'll have any news about what the domino would be. Kirk Cousins either re-signing or not, Jefferson's extension, Harrison Smith taking a pay cut or retiring. But there will be a first offseason domino. I'm just not sure if it'll be before next week. All right, any closing arguments from either of yous?
Well, I would just like to once again state that I believe personally, if Kirk Cousins is going to be re-signed, he will be re-signed the Monday before free agency, and there's no special reason for that whatsoever. It's not a special day for anybody or anything. I just have a good feeling about it. It's fine. It's fine.
March 4th is Dakota's birthday, and that is when Kirk Cousins will sign, per her estimation, for those who do not in on the joke. Tyler, any closing arguments, my man?
I told this to Dakota, but her birthday present is going to be an Adam Schefter tweet saying that Kirk Cousins is considering all of his options and is expected to explore the free agent market. It's going to be like a report 1 week before the start of the free agency. So I'm also going to send her some sand in the mail.
So we have diagnosed that March 4th will be a pivotal date in Vikings history, all because it's Dakota's birthday. All right, you two.
And for the sand bit, for those who don't understand that, Dakota, I guess, is supposed to go to Disney and dress up as Anakin Skywalker. So I thought I would send my kind regards by, sending some sand, because Anakin loves sand.
All right, you guys, we'll talk to you next Friday, okay?
Awesome.
All right, later.
Thanks, Justin.
Yeah, later.